Okay, so yeah, I participated in the hackathon where you did this criticizing, and I've been I've I haven't I haven't won anything in the hackathon, and I'm kind of happy about it because I have slightly different ideas than Trent and maybe Matthias. And so for me, instead of being tied to some vision that they are pursuing, I could just keep on developing on what I had in mind, and get some input and get some exchange with them. So yeah, at the moment we are moving forward. We are developing two slightly different things, and I want to let you know today what I am developing and why, and maybe you can maybe you find it interesting, and maybe you can find maybe you have ideas where you can point me to, or you have ideas yeah how to help me with this idea. So yeah, I want to talk about my career a little bit, because I started in IT consulting, and that was when I also started thinking about building something that is better somehow than the stuff that I was experiencing as an IT consultant. I had this idea of maybe it's possible to replace management with, like, the whole institution of management with software, with computer systems, and automate decision making, basically. And I think that this is something that is already happening. So there's still humans involved somehow, but all the big data stuff and the data gathering, and I think a lot of decisions are already basically made by computer systems. And I think that that this is also the way how humans and computer systems, or maybe artificial intelligence, will work together in the future. So sometimes, look, I think that IT systems are like the nervous system of humanity, and that, like this analogy that if you compare humanity to a single human, then the IT system is like the nervous system of the human, of the planet Earth. Yeah, and then the humans are like cells that execute stuff based on what's going on in the brain and nervous system. So yeah, this is already happening, like with all the technology that we use in our day-to-day lives. And technology that is used to hire people, for example, technology that is used to yeah, to put humans, or to motivate humans to do certain tasks in life on this earth. So humans are already being coordinated by software, and I think that this will become more intense in the future, and then that also through things like brain-computer interfaces, we will be tied very closely to some kind of software system. And yeah, so this was one of these things I was thinking about, like replacing management with software. And also, instead of building companies, it would become something like programming companies. So instead of making decisions, we would build systems that would make decisions. And instead of having repetitive tasks, we would always have things that we execute only once in order to change something, in order to change the state of automation, basically. So everything, like, this is like a view that I like to have. Everything is automated, basically. Everything is working by itself. And then the only thing that is left to do is to improve stuff by sometimes making a project and changing something about how the system is currently working. Like, always think that what is happening right now is like a stable state by incentives and by all these mechanisms that are in place and that guide humans to do their work at a company, for example, or like machines and stuff. And then and everything, like and then the meaningful work, or not the meaningful work, but the most exciting stuff is to think about, like, what could we change, like, and these kind of changes I call them projects or ideas. And then these kind of ideas, they only get executed, like, you only oh, can you still hear me? Because my laptop went into sleep, it got locked.
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Thanks. So yeah, so in my worldview, there's basically something that runs by itself, and then it's all about making improvements in a way that after the effort of making this improvement has been done, a new state that is still kind of stable will be reached. So, and I kind of organized my own life in this kind of way, and yeah, so I note down ideas, and then these ideas, I estimate the amount of time that I need to realize them, and I break these ideas down into smaller things. And then one important thing is that there's often smaller projects that contribute to the bigger project that you want to realize, that also help with realizing different big projects. And this is then something that I wanted to realize by creating a web application for it. So I wanted to allow people to write down their ideas, small ideas that can be achieved within a week, or big ideas that maybe take a lifespan or so to try to realize them, and then connect all these aims, and then also try to find synergies. Also to try to find the most exciting thing that they could probably do. So the thing that has the biggest impact, or the biggest positive expected value compared to the amount of effort that is required to realize this. And then I thought, like, about deriving this, deriving the I called it importance, or the expected value of realizing a goal. I sometimes call it importance, because something is important for you. Maybe it's very subjective, especially when we are talking about using this kind of system for managing your own. And I wanted to make it possible to state an importance for a very big goal. For example, something like, like realizing whatever dream you have. Maybe you want to maybe you want to live in the nature, in a very nice place or so, and then creating this place could be one of the goals that you try to achieve using this this system. And then when you have smaller goals that contribute to this big goal, like buying a patch of land and maybe creating the architecture, like creating the plan for building the house or something like this, you could determine relatively to the parent aim how much one of these smaller aims are contributing to the parent aim. Like what share of importance is forwarded to these smaller steps. You might call them milestones, but I like to think about a network with only one type of node, which is a project or a goal or an idea. So okay, and then I tried to implement this once as a web app, like 5 years ago or so. It's yeah. And I also approached some human resource managers at some companies, and they liked the idea, but for some reason I didn't really manage to put this into a product that could be sold and where I could create a startup. Maybe I didn't want to create a startup, and so the idea slept for a while, and then I got to know all these decentral technologies. First, I found out about secure scuttlebutt, for example, which yeah, I forgot about it again, most of it. But it's basically a gossip protocol where you can publish. Everybody has, like, you can publish messages and they get passed around in a network of peers, and then there's also the concept of identities, and by that you can build certain types of decentral applications. And then in the beginning of this year, I decided to give it another try to create version 2 of this web app, and I decided to build it on blockchain because I need some kind of server, and because I need some kind of database where I can store the data that users create, and I can as well just use blockchain. Of course, it comes with some restrictions, especially transaction fees and speed of transactions. But I also decided to use blockchain because it was a possibility for me to get funding for this project. There's a lot of money in blockchain, and there are a lot of hackathons, and this creates a space where people can just try and build something and then get some money, even if it's something that's hard to explain. And also, I mean, some of my values were aligned with the enthusiasm that I felt that was there in the blockchain space. So yeah, and then it's not only hackathons that allow me that provide a possibility of funding for me, but it's also this concept of tokens. And I also have this idea that it would be nice if it would be possible to fund open source projects. And this project that I'm developing is also a pure open source project. There's also lots of projects in blockchain which have some concept that, for example, a certain percentage of every sale is directed to the developers of this decentral app or something like this. And I want to make it completely open source without such a mechanism for collecting money. And I don't want to implement a complicated token system. And yeah, so this brings us closer to the product that I'm developing right now. So I have created a web app that allows people to note down their ideas and projects, and then create connections between those projects. So now it's not only about one person anymore, but it's about the ideas and projects of a lot of people. And then these ideas and projects can be interconnected, and every project or every idea that somebody creates and is probably working on also comes with a dedicated ERC20 token. ERC20 tokens are like this currency that you can create by writing smart contracts on the Ethereum blockchain. And there's also this concept of bonding curves. A bonding curve is a way to issue these ERC20 tokens. If you have a bonding curve, in the beginning, nobody has a token, so there's 0 tokens that belong to people. But at every point in time, everybody could buy a certain amount of tokens. And the price for buying a certain amount of tokens is the sum of the tokens, is the sum of the price of the tokens he's going to buy. And the price of one token depends on how many tokens are already sold. And the easiest way how this dependence makes sense is just a linear function that the price of token X is
Felix, I think so, several of us kind of understand that. So I don't know if it's worth your time to kind of explain that and some of the other edge things you're talking about. I wonder if we could, if you've explained the core of what you're doing, I think we have some questions that would better make use of our time than you kind of explaining, not knowing what we know. You're kind of explaining a lot of things that we are already aware of, and I'd like to focus more on the uniqueness of your app, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Sure, I will try to. So you already know how bonding curves work.
Well, I would say that that's not unique to your app. Like, you're not the only app doing bonding curves.
That's true.
Okay, so I would rather focus on what's unique about your system. So whether it's stored in blockchain is a good piece of information, no, but to understand how blockchains work isn't important. So focusing on what's unique about your app, which I think, I mean, early in the process you said, because we only have an hour in here, and it could take hours to go through all the detail.
Sure.
You mentioned a decision-making tool, and then you said V2 is people logging their ideas and linking them together. Is it still a decision-making tool? Or what's the core feature of the app you're working on right now that's unique?
So I think it could be a replacement for a political system. I think it could be a way for people to vote with their tokens on what kind of common goods are important for them, by investing into them and even getting rewards when they are early in identifying that these kind of commons that they are investing in are important for many people. So I hope, and I'm not sure whether it would work, that, for example, open source projects can create a project in this map. By linking this open source project to relevant other open source projects, it can be found by other people by exploring this map. And then people can start buying tokens if they think that this is something that is important and something that will grow in its importance. And then the original funders who invested very early can extract some of that investment by selling a few of their initial investment and start different initiatives. So this is how I imagine this could work, and it's an experiment basically, because I'm not exactly sure whether there's a reasonable incentive for people to start investing into these projects. It's a little bit like NFTs, where it's not clear, is it just a hype when somebody is investing in an NFT, or is there really some value, maybe even only if there's stuff like metaverse or so, where you can present your digital owner, your digital property in some digital virtual space. So yeah, I really like. I want to. It's I'm coming from this this system that people can use for themselves in order to create clear priorities. This is basically what it's about, and also a system that allows them to note down ideas and not forget about ideas, like organizing their ideas in a good way. And then I'm coming from there, and I would like to create a system where all people together can organize the ideas that this community or the projects that this community wants to do in order to improve the system that they are living in or their surrounding. Like, this leads back to what I said in the beginning, that I think that there's a stable state, and then you can do projects in order to improve stuff. And then, yeah, somebody could come with an initiative and build some open source project for, I don't know, for automating crop harvesting or so. It's also, for example, I don't know if this traditional way of competition or this capitalistic feature of competition will always work within this planet Earth, because as we grow closer together, there's less space for trying out different approaches that are competing, and maybe it's cool if we find something that allows people to improve on something, like improve a product without without competing with other companies.
How about you, or Megatron? Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, I've put like quite a few questions in the chat, and sorry,
I
interrupted earlier.
Sorry.
You've been talking a lot about using tokens, and basically, if tokens are used for deciding, for taking decisions, how do you ensure that this does not become a plutocracy? How do you ensure aren't tokens a barrier to entry to people who do not participate in the token economy, like and so on? And second,
shall I answer this question first? Sorry for interrupting, or should I
go ahead?
Okay, so I think it is, like you say, like it is kind of a barrier, and it is people who are there earlier, they have a bigger chunk of the decision-making power in the community. And I think this is very natural to human beings. It's also, democracy also worked this way, right? It feels like the US has is like the center of this system that's like all about democracy, and then the system spreads to some other countries, but the US is kind of profiting from spreading the system. So I would
say that's a bug and not a feature.
Maybe. I mean, I don't think it's a feature, but I think it's a natural thing in
yeah, but it's
establishment of socio-economic systems.
Yes, but it doesn't mean we can't improve on it. It's not because it's natural that it should not be rethought.
Yeah. Look, it's interesting. I mean, it would be nice if we could just distribute tokens to people, to everybody. But this leads to this problem of identifying people, like making sure that in the blockchain world, creating an identity is just generating a P pair, and then if you really want to provide equality from the start, you have to find a way to make sure that somebody who creates an identity is really one human being and hasn't already created a different identity. That comes to my mind. But there are solutions for that probably, or you can try to prove human identity, and then you have to. Then there's probably also ways to trick the system, and then for some people it may be the best strategy to play to optimize creating fake identities in order to get resources.
Fair enough. Now let's go back a bit. I remember putting the RIA, the value flows links in the Discord. I don't know if you got into studying that. Are there aspects of that you've considered?
I am a little bit inspired by the RIA because I found out a bit about it when I was looking into Holochain.
Good.
And yeah, I would like to be able to accurately depict the flows of contribution, which is like all kinds of resources between these projects. And yeah, I don't know to what extent this app that I'm developing can provide that.
I think I'm still making, Marc-Antoine, maybe before we get more into the tech, I think I still have several places that I'm making assumptions on Felix, on how you're imagining this working. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if other people are doing the same thing.
I think showing it would be very useful.
Or just a quick.
That's what I wanted to say. Yeah, I mean, you have something, show it, and then we have a good base to start from.
Do you want to see the UI?
Please, yeah.
Okay. Let me share my screen. Zips. Entire screen. I hope it works. Can you see something?
It's black for me.
It's all black. Yeah.
We see a cursor.
It's black. Okay, let me rejoin with Firefox. I know what the problem is. See you in a minute.
Okay.
Well, I'm super glad I didn't miss out on the showing of the tech.
Glad you could join us.
Hi, Jamie.
Hola.
Long night?
Very much so. Long weekend. Very good stuff, though.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now it's working, right?
Now I see Bentley.
Yeah, that's good. Does it also work when I switch to a different workspace? Yes. Can you see the app now?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So yeah, on the right side, you can see the map of projects. And on the left side, at the moment, you can see a list of projects. This data is stored on Ethereum on an Ethereum testnet, on the Girly test network. And what you can see here are the results from Felix and me trying it out a couple of weeks ago. And in order to demonstrate how you can use it, maybe you have some projects that are connected to Canonical Debate Lab, or no, actually that's not a good idea because I don't have any rights to create flows towards the Canonical Debate Lab. But maybe maybe some of you have an idea for a project that benefits from the Canonical Debate Lab. So some kind of project or idea that needs the work of Canonical Debate Lab. Something that profits from Canonical Debate Lab reaching or realizing its vision.
Just invent something and connect it.
Yeah. No, maybe somebody has an idea to make it more. Oops.
You could just put the society library.
Thank you. Society. Oops. Library. So you can obviously set a title for this project, and then you can give some more detailed description and maybe paste some link. And then this effort field is, I'm still thinking about what is a unit for effort. I was thinking about time, but then time does not really make so much sense. And then I thought about maybe processing, like computation time, which makes some sense when we get into AI more deeply. But then computation time depends on depends on our hardware and the progress that we make there. So maybe it comes back to some financial value, which always represents how many resources something takes, maybe. So, and then there's some status you can set for this project, for example, work in progress. And here you can define the name of the token and the symbol of this token. And then whenever you create a project, you make an initial investment. And here you can see the price for this initial investment. You could, for example, you could come back and then one day later decide that you don't believe in your own goal anymore or in your own idea, and then you can remove your investment and sell all your tokens. And this is the bonding curve thing. And then you get your investment, like the Ethereum you had to pay, you get it back. And the only thing you lose are the transaction costs, which are hopefully very low using layer 2 chains or stuff like Polygon. Okay, and then if you feel happy with the data you've entered here, you can create this AIM, and this will prompt you with MetaMask asking to confirm the transaction. And then clicking on confirm. This will take some time until the transaction is on chain. And in the meantime, we can, for example, create a flow from Canonical Debate Lab to Society Library. And at this flow, we can just add some kind of explanation why Canonical Debate Lab contributes to the Society Library. In the top right corner, you may be able to see that the Ethereum transaction has been confirmed. The loading animation has vanished from the Society Library idea or project. And now, like, we can also create this flow on chain. Confirm.
So 1 second, just tell me what the flow represents. Is it an estimation of how much value Canonical Debate Lab contributes by its existence? Is it actual tokens being transferred at interval? What's the interval? I'm trying to understand what the flow is supposed to represent here.
yeah, the flow represents it represents that Canonical Debate Lab contributes to Society Library, and the share of this flow, which you can see down here, is like this expresses at the moment, and I think that the UI should make this maybe more clear. It expresses that 50% of reaching this, of realizing this project, 50% depend on Canonical Debate Lab realizing its vision, and 50% on work that is basically done internally in this project. So if we would create another project here, project 2, and we create an arrow to Society Library as well, it would change to 33%, 33%, and 33%. And if we, for example, decide that Society Library basically just depends on Canonical Debate Lab and Project 2, we would lower this to 0, which means that there's no work needed to be done for this project. It just depends on these 2 projects to be finished. And then this is also represented by these 2 numbers changing from 33% to 50%. Or, for example, if we say that realizing Canonical Debate Lab, realizing its vision is 2 times as important as this project 2, then this arrow gets bigger compared to this one, twice as big, representing that that it's
okay,
like
okay, so this is about projects that have a definite success endpoint and are finished when they're completed. They're not continuous projects, am I right?
Yeah, that's pretty much right. I think that projects are done only once, and in the best case, they successfully change how a system works. And then drawing inspiration from the open source world, I would say that even if a project is finished, there will be maintenance forever. Like you will have to do some maintenance in order to keep it working. So I think that the final state of a project is maintenance.
Right, and that should have a cost with the time interval. Now, suppose that here we assume project 2 gets completed. What happens to the tokens? Are the tokens, like, are there tokens in project 2? Are some transferred to Society Library? Do the tokens of Society Library gain value because it's partially completed through project 2? What happens then?
Mm-hmm. Good question. So I imagine that so the more tokens are sold, the higher the price of the tokens is. This is the bonding curve. And I imagine that when a project, like in the phase of a project rising in importance for the community, the value of the tokens will rise because more and more people are buying this token. And then at some point, people will, like, when the maintenance of a project is not that important anymore, and people think like, oh, we really don't need to improve on combustion engines for cars anymore because we've got better technology around, then people will start to de-invest or like to sell tokens to the bonding curve again. And then the value of the value and also the size, by the way. So the size of these projects, the visual size, depends on how many people have invested how many tokens. So when some initiative, then when some project that has been really important once, maybe when it loses importance, people are going to sell their tokens, and then the value will decline again, maybe even until it reaches 0. So the whole investment thing is a zero-sum game. So if you're investing early into projects that are getting more important soon, you are making some money. And if you invest at the peak of some project and then watch it be becoming less important, you will lose some money. So it's a zero-sum game for sure. And then, but there's, back to your question, so there's no special thing happening when a project changes its status. There could be a possibility for projects to make something with these tokens. So if it's blockchain projects, it could be, for example, if it's a project that has some kind of governance system implemented on chain, this governance system could allow voting weighted by the amount of tokens that people bought. Yeah, there's things like that.
Okay, another question. I'm still very much trying to understand the basic assumptions.
Yeah,
I saw you could name the token. So do you expect one token per project, or?
That's correct. Yeah, there's one.
So when
token.
I come in, do I have tokens as an individual, or how does my investing work?
So when you create a goal, you usually make an initial invest, because in like the idea is that if you make an initiative, if you create a project and say, I believe in this and I think this is important and I want to show it to the world because maybe some other people also think it's important, you make an initial investment in your own belief, basically. And this can be as big as you want. You could theoretically also create a project without any investment, and then it would have, like, it wouldn't be even visible because it's like zero. So when you create a project, you usually buy a couple of these tokens, and like tokens from your own project. And then if other people invest after you, and then the value rises, that's the bonding curve again, and then you can sell just a fraction of your initial investment and get out what you've invested in the beginning, or even more, depending on how much you sell.
No, but I'm trying to understand investment here. I'm declaring this project exists. I'm declaring it's very important. It's worth so many tokens. Those tokens don't exist. Like, there's no correspondence to Ethereum tokens. They're just, I'm declaring a new token value.
That's
and
correct.
Then you come in and you say, I want to invest this. What tokens do you use to add value? The tokens of the project, which I created out of thin air, Ethereum tokens, then defining an exchange value.
You always buy all of the project's tokens with Ethereum. So Ethereum is the main currency here. I was also thinking about creating my own currency and then having people buy this currency in order to invest into projects. But this is one of the inspirations I took from working with Trent and that it kind of makes sense to have a ERC20 token for every project, so that people could even trade it on platforms like Uniswap or so. Yeah. So yeah, it was kind of convincing, or I thought it's worth a try to make it like this. Have a full-fledged ERC20 token for each project that somebody creates. Yeah.
Well, one part of that is that projects generally come up with their own ERC20 tokens on their own, so that they may come into your project already having a token, right? And in that case, you need to be able to incorporate them into this flow, and you're going to need to be able to support that token.
That's a great idea, and I wish I could do this. To allow people to bring their own token that they may be already using for governance stuff or something like this. There's one thing that I would have to solve, and that's the question of, usually I use, like, for visual, I use the amount of bought tokens for calculating the size of these bubbles, and it does have a important meaning. And if I would allow people to bring their own ERC20 tokens, I wouldn't be able to do this anymore, because they could just create tokens out of thin air. Like, they could just
No, but you could use like market cap. You could do something like, you know, the current trading price times the number of tokens in
yeah, that's possible. That's an idea.
yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Felix, is there anything you hoped that the Canonical Debate Lab could like answer you, like, or help you with? Or like, is there anything you wanted to know regarding your project, for example, or bigger visions? Just saying, like, we have 8 more minutes until the full hour.
Wow. Well, I thought that maybe somebody has an idea how to. Yeah, maybe somebody knows something that is related to this project or something like this. I mean,
you may not be aware. I think I should try to find it. I, at some point, said, okay, this is what I think a project system should have in its data model. I had that conversation with Andy, and I don't think much came out of it. I submitted it to the community here. I'll make sure you have that, because there's a lot of things I consider important elements of the data model that I don't see here. I don't have much to comment, because I'll admit I don't believe in token economics in the first place. So for me, this is not but that's me. I mean, that's not the whole group. That's me personally. So I don't want to color but what's clear to me is we had a lot of conversations about what's a success criterion, what's like, who gets to say that this is useful to that, this project's useful to that project? Is it the author of the source, the destination, both? Do they have to negotiate? How are projects similar? How is this project, does it have the same goal, the same means at that project? Those are all, for me, important questions. The question of, I'm all for distribution, by the way, but I would not use a token-based distributed system personally. But again, that's just my point of view. The ability to determine value is extremely important. Of course, the problem is there's multiple values according to perspective. So I doubt it can be reduced to a single value, but that's, again, an assumption. And this is where I do think there's potential in your idea, is that if each project has its own value, well, this is how this project values this other project being completed. And so each token, in a way, is one project's viewpoint on the value of other projects. That I do find promising and interesting.
Can you explain this again?
Yes.
Can you stop screen sharing, please, Felix? Because then we have the gallery record.
Oh, yeah, I can stop my screen sharing. Thanks for this hint. Stop sharing.
What I'm understanding is if each project has its own token and hence its own idea of value, what I think we're getting out of this is that each project gets to declare how much other projects are useful to it according to its own perspective.
Yes.
So the project A could be very useful to project B and not to project C. So that's interesting in that it's how valuable is this project from this project's point of view. And that I think is useful. And maybe tokens are the right way to do this, absolutely. But the whole question of how to avoid this becoming a plutocracy, and there's a phone call I absolutely have to take. Apologies, anyway, I was done.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. Yeah, so I just, this makes sense. What you just said, like projects determining how much another project contributes to this project, right? So if you can see based on the data that is stored on blockchain, how much a project is contributing to different projects. You can add it up. So if one very small project makes a big contribution from the perspective of a big project, and then maybe also a second contribution to another big project, and then maybe a bunch of small projects, you could add up the contribution that this project makes to other projects, and then you can compare this to the investment that has been done into the small project. And I think that by people, like it's like a little bit like arbitrage or so, there will be people who, based on this discrepancy between the contribution that a project makes to other projects, the amount of contribution, and its own size, will invest or remove or sell tokens of this project. And I hope that this would be balancing, like this would lead to forwarding the flow in the way that I spoke about importance in the beginning. So if you have a very big important project and it depends on a smaller project that makes a big contribution, and then the importance of the big project changes, maybe it's not that important anymore and it becomes really tiny, then also by people comparing the contribution that projects make to the investment that has been done into this project, they will adjust the investment into the small project, and then the size of these projects will in a way reflect how important these initiatives are for the community that is using this tool. And this is maybe brings us to some kind of conclusion or some last thought. In like money in a nation state has a value because the nation that is producing goods and services in this country, they sell these goods and services in this currency. And I sometimes think that if we can build some kind of political system in Ethereum, then the value of Ethereum would be based on how healthy or how well working this system is. But I'm also, yes, I'm a bit skeptical sometimes myself. All right, so yeah, it's almost a full hour now. I hope the contents of this presentation were maybe inspiring or interesting for some of you. And yeah, I want to say thanks again for being able to be here today and showing you what I've built. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Felix.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I guess we see you in another MapsDAO session sometime.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks.
Have a nice week.
Thanks, everyone.
You too.